Hello everyone. Thank you for your attendance tonight at our Year 11 Parent Information Evening. We will get started. I hope you can all hear me with the microphone. I've got two devices today, so bear with me. As I said, thank you for coming along this evening, and I'd also like to thank Mrs. Jennifer Ocean, our principal, for being here this evening to present in Simone Suarez's absence. She's at a conference this evening, so is unable to attend. Many of you, I think this will be your first journey into senior school with your daughters. For many of others, and myself included, you've done this road before. I'm very excited. I have one finished and I have one in Year 12, so I'm looking forward to that one being done. And I feel your concerns and as this journey gets started. But I'm sure that together we can all work through this with your daughters. And I know that Year 11 and 12, I can have its ups and downs. Mostly it's ups. So I look forward to working with your girls for the next 2 years. I'd like to commence today's meeting with an acknowledgement to country. And I begin by acknowledging the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation as the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather. I recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and community. I pay my respects to them and their cultures, and to elders both past, present and emerging. Let us pray. In the name of the Father, Son and Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord, as the Santa Maria community, may the mercy tradition burn strong in our hearts as we strive to achieve the vision of Catherine Macaulay. Empower us to work with enthusiasm and passion for the good of all. Teach us to welcome others with our mind, heart and soul in the spirit of hospitality, to feel for others and reach out to them in the spirit of compassion, to hold up the rights of all people in the spirit of justice, to respond to the needs of others in the spirit of service, to strive to meet our personal best in the spirit of excellence. Help us grow in mercy to change the world for the better. In your name, Amen. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. I thought I would share with you our homeroom teachers for this year. Many of them are the same homeroom teachers that the girls have had since Year 7, so they're very lucky. We have welcomed Leah Pascoe into Dillon homeroom for this year, and next year she will be with the Dillon girls, we expect. So Leah joins us in the economics house area, and Cara Ciccarelli is filling in for Ian Sakari Cara Ciccarelli is filling in for Malcolm Cesario in Corbett House for this term as well while he's on leave. And so the girls have made them feel very welcome, and they're a great asset to our team. My role, as many of you know, is quite varied as Dean, and this list indicates many of the things I'm responsible for each day in caring for your daughters. As we move into Year 11 and the focus does become somewhat more concerned about the academic care of your daughters, I will spend a considerable amount of time tracking their progress in all of their subjects. So I will keep a very, very close eye on how they're going across all of their subject areas. If you're concerned in any way about your daughter's progress in a particular subject, then please contact probably the teacher directly first as the first port of call. But if the concerns are more, across a number of subjects, then I would certainly be someone that you could contact in that instance. And as I said, I will be checking every week as to how they're going with their assessments and touch base with your daughters quite regularly. I also do a number of those other things with working with your daughters in coordinating events for them, as many of you are aware of our upcoming event, and I'll talk more about that shortly. This year, the mercy value is the value of compassion, and to be compassionate is to feel for others. We do this by keeping our hearts open to the cause of all people and reaching out to them in the spirit of mercy. And see, we will address this value of compassion with the girls across a wide range of activities in PCT, both year and house focus, in our assemblies and in our classes, so that the value will come through in everything that we do each day. As you are aware, we have commenced a mental health strategy that was developed last year in conjunction with both the students, parents and staff. It was a co-design process where everybody in those different bodies was able to get together and contribute to the development of this policy. And we will touch on some of these aspects of this policy throughout the course of the year. Our objective is to ensure that the Santa Maria College students have the skill set to manage their wellbeing, tackle challenges and thrive in school life. And with that there are 4 focus areas, that being culture, values, knowledge, skills, and so we support those 4 key focus areas through a number of different actions. One of those was an action where we had Sarah Edelman come and present to parents last week. She also worked with the staff. I will be sharing lots of information with your daughters in various different ways to support them and also to help you to be able to support your daughters in this very important area. If you have any further questions about that, then feel free to contact me and to discuss this program with me or any of your daughters' teachers. Our service learning program, and many of your daughters will have already undertaken and completed the large number of hours that they needed to do towards this program. So the 20 compulsory hours for Year 11. A number of them are also looking at completing an extra number of hours, that being 50, to be eligible for the endorsed unit. And so this needs to be completed before the end of Term 3 this year, and I know many of the girls are in a position that they've already done that. Our service learning coordinator at the college is Liz van der Zanden. She is able to assist the girls if they're struggling in being able to complete this requirement. So please contact her or encourage your daughters to contact her if you have any concerns in that area. In addition to this, we have further service learning opportunities at the college, and Liv Gamble met with the girls and spoke to them about the Pununga immersion program that is on offer, and there are 2 tours that the girls can apply for. They have been asked to fill in and submit their application to Liv Gamble, and then we'll go through those applications and select the girls that can attend that. It is a highly sought after opportunity, one that the girls find very, very valuable. So if your daughter is interested in that program, then please encourage her to put in her application and have a conversation with her about what she learned from Liv about that program. In my role as Dean, I'm here to work with your daughters and support them both pastorally and, as I said, academically. And I do this a number of ways, both formally and informally. And as I mentioned, I will track their progress and communicate with them and with teachers quite regularly to ensure that that progress is moving in the direction we would hope. I also send the girls an email, usually on a Sunday evening, sometimes very first thing on a Monday morning. But that email is the week ahead email. We used to call it the memo last year, but I've been starting to call it the week ahead. Ask your daughters if you can see one. Often I will outline for them some things that are happening in the week ahead, the assessments that are coming up, what we're doing in PCT. And then I'll give them some other information that they might find useful. So, for instance, yesterday I emailed them and I talked to them through again the important documents they get as part of Year 11, being the syllabus, the assessment outline and the unit outline, and just explaining to them again what those things are. Their teachers would have done that with them at the beginning of the year, but so much information coming at them can be a little bit overwhelming. So I just went over that in that week ahead email. As I said, if you have any concerns with your daughter, then feel free to contact myself, their homeroom teacher, or their subject teachers if it's a particular subject issue. Additionally, we have a number of other support staff that are available for your daughters at the college, and these are all listed here. The girls know these staff members, and often sometimes they'll come to me and ask, I'd like to see the site, but I don't know her email, and I'm able to give that to them. So there is a number of different staff, and I hope your daughters would make use of these people should they need to. I did allude to the fact our Mercy Wellbeing program, or as the girls will call it, PCT. So each Thursday I'll spend that lesson working with your girls in lots of different areas in order to assist them with building the skills to be able to function well at school, achieve success both at school and in other aspects of their lives. The girls have an input into this program, and the leaders will also sometimes assist, and I'll ask them to give me an indication of what they might like to cover. I often get, can we just do body conga again? And I'm like, yes, but not every week. So there is, a range of different activities, and I do try to provide some balance, but I also do need to work with them on study skills and all of those aspects as well to ensure that success at school. So this is an indication of some of those things that we will address as a practical approach in that PCT or in that Mercy Wellbeing program. And I often invite experts in to have conversation with the girls. So they met with Mary Power, who has an organisation called Empower. She told them some very entertaining stories, but also shared with them some really good information about managing conflicts. Melissa Marshall came in, our Director of Digital Learning, and spoke to the girls about positive uses of social media and how they can use social media to expand their learning and understanding, and also looking further forward to their career pathways. So hopefully lots of these different things come into PCT and the girls can find this useful and valuable. Our key events, I did share a number of these dates with you at the beginning of the year in my welcome email. We have the Year 11 Social coming up very soon. And I ask that you support the college policies on these events, both with regards to the standard of dress and also the functions that the girls might attend before these events. Socials and balls are school events, and as such, we need to ensure that these events are kept in keeping with the ethos of the college. If we work in partnership with these events, then we can ensure that the girls will all have a fabulous time and represent the college well. I also advise the girls that the ball date for 2021 will be on the weekend prior to the academic year commencing. And this year or next year will be held at the stadium, and I'll provide further information to that closer to the time. But just to give you the heads up that the ball will be before school starts next year. Finally from me, just at the college, it's a very busy place, as you are aware, and there's lots of communication coming from the college to you. We are going to try and use the college app as a main source of providing that communication. So while you might get emails from me, they'll always be on the app. So if you feel like you might have missed some communication or you're not sure about something, please always check that app. Make sure you've got your notifications set up so those things are coming through to you and you can see that information. As I said, we will be using this increasingly to share information with you along with some of these other avenues of communication. And I will now invite Mrs. Oaten forward to talk to you about some academic concepts.
Good evening, everyone, and it's lovely to be back in my old role as Deputy Principal Teaching and Learning, which is, for those who don't know, was my role before taking on the role of Principal. So Simone Sawiris, as Marcia said, is at a conference, so I have the privilege of talking with you this evening. An interesting, Marcia was talking about her children, and a parent spoke to me this evening and said her daughter's really not sure what she wants to do. And I think that's where most students are at this stage, and certainly I have a son in year 12, and he's certainly still at that place. So I think we just need to go with them on that journey and just really understand that they will change their mind many times, but they will get to some point by the end of year 12 once they start to do their applications for uni. So tonight I'm just going to talk to you about some of the different areas within about some of the academic aspects for your girls in Year 11. And I hope that they have had a great start to Year 11. Sometimes we find that they've now chosen their subjects that they're going to do, and actually they have a whole new focus going into Year 11. I'm not sure if you've experienced that with your daughter, but hopefully it's been a positive start. Connecting learning to life has been a focus for us since last year, and a big part of this is ensuring that what we're teaching our girls both in the classroom but also through homeroom and through other college events all connect back to this document here. So really upskilling the girls both for life but also for work. So we really are working very hard to ensure that relevance of learning for all our students. I want to talk just briefly about the achievements from the WACE last year to give you a bit of an overview. You may have seen some of the data that came out to parents. So our median ATAR last year was 87.5 and we were ranked 14th in the state. So over the past 10 years we've done very well in maintaining a very high median ATAR, and we really feel that a big part of that is really supporting our middle girls to really reach their potential. So it's not just about supporting those top-end students. Our top student this year received 99.75, which is very impressive. In fact, 3 girls got 99 and above, 17 above 97, and 44% of students achieved an ATAR above 90. Now, when you look at those numbers and you say a median ATAR of 90, it is achievable for many students. And I'll talk to you and give you a little bit more data about that in a moment in terms of how that score is worked out. So in terms of our highest performing subjects, and you might like to just have a look and see which ones your daughter is currently studying, they were all the top performing subjects last year. So they were in the top 15% of the state. Against all, that's with all schools, not just Catholic schools, for the performance there. And we also had one general exhibition, so that student was in the top 50 students in the state, which is an incredible achievement. 6 certificates of excellence for English, applications and religion and life. And then the certificates of distinction and certificates of merit. Certificates of distinction are ATAR students only, but we also had a large number of access girls who received a certificate of merit. And for those awards, they're the ones that are published in the newspaper each year. And many of our girls, when you look at that, we had 81 out of our 180 girls that received a certificate. So it's really achievable for many girls, and it's based on the grades that they achieve over Year 11 and Year 12. In terms of certificates, so if your daughter is on an access pathway, she will study a certificate course. Some Year 11s have started it this year because they're working on the one that will lead them to nursing, Certificate of Community Service, I believe. And you can see there the trends now are for many of our girls to actually complete a Certificate 4. There was a lot in the newspapers last year about certificates, and that many schools won't actually be offering certificates, particularly at the Certificate 4 level. And part of that is that there's significant expense associated with that. But our girls are going to be offered that Certificate 4 going forward because we've had great success with our girls. Many of them will achieve a Certificate 4, but also maybe a 3 and a 2 for some of them. So it just opens lots of doors for them. So we feel very strongly that although many, particularly department schools, have moved away from that, it's something that we've really worked hard to develop, and we will be continuing to offer that. So if your daughter is in the Access program, there are lots of options for her, and certainly if we haven't got that on offer, we will go out and we will source that for her, because we want every girl to be making a choice about her certificate course that suits her needs. And that gives you an idea as to some of the ones that are on offer and that the girls can choose from. So compared to when I first came here to the college, we had 3 certificates that we offered. And I think there's about 25 up there now. So girls really do have a lot to choose from. In terms of endorsed programs, and this relates to all students, ATAR and Access. So if your daughter, for example, is doing workplace learning, or if she's a music student that does an incredible amount of hours, they can gain an endorsed unit. So what they need to do, if your daughter is particularly strong in any of those areas shown there, they need to meet with Marianne Hughes, our careers coordinator, and she gives them the required paperwork to fill in, and then they need to keep a journal. And that will then count towards their WACE achievement. So it's great to have on their certificate, and certainly for employers, these sorts of additional things will help, particularly with things such as scholarships in Year 12 going into university, but also if they're looking at overseas opportunities or other things. So there's certainly lots of opportunity there. I will just mention that all these slides will also be made available tomorrow if anyone is wanting those lists. In terms of Year 11 requirements, so your daughters this year would be studying 6 subjects, so every girl studies 6, and she must have List A and List B. And I'm sure all of you remember from when you were at school, the List B was the science, maths, and the List A is the humanities. So all girls have to do those in those areas. One question we're often asked is, what about maths? Do they have to do maths? And some of the girls will choose to go into Year 12 without maths. However, we highly recommend maths. We prefer every student to do that, but it is not a requirement for girls to do maths. But they need to be very sure that the university pathway that they're going to undertake doesn't require a maths, because that's sometimes where the issue may be. They will all be doing English, whether it be literature or general English, and girls must get a C grade for English and religion and life. Something that I'm often asked about is the difference between the WACE and the ATAR. So the WACE certificate is your certificate of graduation, and all of the grades and results from Year 11 and from Year 12 count towards that. However, for the ATAR, which is the score at the end of Year 12, that is only based on Year 12 results, not Year 11 results. So yes, 11 and 12 is important for graduation. 12 is where the ATAR score comes from. I think it's just really important to understand the difference between that. Sometimes the girls are a little bit unclear about that too. So in terms of our pathways, generally we have about 75 to 80% of students do the ATAR pathway, and then about 20 to 25% do access. It does vary from year to year. In terms of entry, direct entry certainly to university via ATAR, but now with the access pathway, a certificate course is certainly a big starting point for getting into university. And we've actually had girls in the access pathway this year who've gone directly into courses. So we're very pleased with that outcome. Not that that's for every student, and certainly not for every access student, but at least it's an opportunity that is there for them. In terms of the ATAR, the school assessment in Year 12 is 50%, the WACE exams are 50%. So of their ATAR, it's half and half. For access, it's 100% school assessment, and in Year 12 they sit what we call an external, or not what we call, SCARS are called an externally set task. And that's really just to ensure moderation and fairness across all the schools. And ATAR, it's their best 4 courses, and in access, their certificate courses are obviously very important, as are their work placements. And the girls in the access program will have 3 opportunities for placements, so 2 in Year 11 and 1 in Year 12. So different combinations that girls will have. So some students will start with 6 and stay with 6 ATAR. Some will do they'll do ATAR religion in Year 11 and general religion in Year 12. So that's an option for them. Girls that do religion general are really encouraged to have 5 ATAR subjects. We always encourage 5 ATAR in case one doesn't quite go as expected in the exams. So if your daughter is looking in the future at going to 5 subjects, there needs to be a conversation about what is the plan in terms of religion and what is the appeal of the study line, which some of our girls in Year 12 choose to do. So some girls will go from the 6 ATAR to 5 plus the study line. So in Year 12, all Year 12 girls get 4 periods of study. If they elect for a study line, they get an extra 9. So it's quite appealing for many girls, particularly if they are heavily committed in leadership or sport or other aspects of college life. So there's lots of different possibilities, and these will be discussed with the girls at their transition interviews at the end of the year. So every Year 11 student will have an interview with a senior member of staff in October, and that is before the Year 12 courses start. So that's a really important conversation, and we really welcome parents to be there and be part of that conversation. In terms of when girls can change courses, so if your daughter has started a course this year in Year 11 and isn't 100% happy, then it's time to action that very soon. So after week 5, which is this week, we don't allow changes. The girls are then required to stay to complete that semester of work because it's a requirement from SCARSA that semesters are completed. Otherwise, the girls don't get the required amount there. So the question there, how many subjects in Year 12 and what would I recommend, is something I'm often asked. And it really depends on the student. It also depends on their commitments outside of school. It depends on the results that they're gaining. So if they're a strong student, then we'd highly recommend that they stay with the 6. If they're a student who's getting lots of 50s, low 60s, then that extra time may help them to really build on those courses. The extra time that's given over to private study needs to very much be around structured study and understanding how that's going to be used effectively, because we want to make sure that it's put to good use if that's the choice that they make. So how do we work out the graduation requirements? So to graduate, students must complete 20 units. So at the moment your daughter is doing 6 subjects, and so she will get 6 points for this semester, and then she will get 6 for semester 2. So in year 11 she will gain 12 of those 20 points, which means then going into year 12 that she will then gain 12 units or 10 units if she's doing 5 subjects. So that's where that number comes from. Students must also get a minimum of 14 C grades, have the breadth of study, English competency and OLNA. And there are opportunities for girls through year 11 and 12 should they need to resit. Certificate 2 is the minimum requirement if your daughter is on an access pathway. And as already mentioned by Marsha, our girls are required to complete their service in year 10 and going into year 11. In terms of scaling, again, we often get questions about this and how does it impact on a particular subject from year to year. And the issue with scaling is that it changes every year. So scaling is based on the cohort across the state that is studying the subject. It depends on how difficult the exam is, and it depends on the combination of subjects that those students sitting that particular course are doing. Hence, we can't give you any data in terms of what will happen with scaling this year or next year. It's really potluck at the time. Our best advice is to the girls, choose the subjects that you love, because that will motivate you, you'll do well, which will then motivate you to do even better. So we really don't talk a lot about scaling with the girls because it's something that we really have no control over. In terms of the 10% bonus, can I just have a show of hands if your daughter's doing French, Italian, methods or specialist? Yep, okay, so this applies to your daughter. You may be aware that there's a 10% bonus for those subjects. And the way that it works is you can see in the second column there the results. And for this particular student, the ones highlighted in yellow are the top 4. So those top 4 come together to give the score of 276. We only count the top 4. And if we have a look at the 10% added, you can see the difference that it makes there. So for this student, it improved her ATAR by 3 marks. Something to be aware of, if your daughter is doing methods, for example, and it wasn't her top 4, you still get that 10%, even if it's not your top 4. So there is a little bit of a bonus there for the girls who are doing those courses. This is how we work out what the ATAR is. So we add up the 4 subjects and then we use this conversion table, which is used by the students, and they're familiar with this, and we certainly share it with them throughout the year. But I think what is more important for the girls is actually this table here. And before we said that a large number of our girls got an ATAR of above 90. Now, if you have a look at that, an ATAR of above 90 is getting an average across your 4 subjects of 70%. So that's quite achievable for a lot of girls. So that will give you an indication, roughly, as to where your daughter might perhaps be aiming. And the other thing we always say to the girls at this stage of the year is that we see a gradual increase in their results from semester 1 to semester 2, year 11, to semester 1, year 12, and then the mocks. So there's always that steady increase. So really for them to aim high, for them to aim for the goal or for their destination that they're hoping for. But that gives you a bit of an idea as to what that looks like. This is the certificate, which is the WAY certificate that I mentioned before. And you will see here, down the bottom here, are all the Year 11 courses, and at the top are all the Year 12 courses. indicating that for this certificate is all the results and all the grades. And I do apologise that it's probably a bit difficult to read from where you are, but it's indicating both the grades and the results for all of those courses, and then the ATAR scores at the top there. And that's what all students will receive. This one here, for girls who are doing the Access program with their vet certificates, they will get a whole lot of endorsed units that will be listed, or competencies listed on their WACE certificate. And this is very, very helpful, obviously, for employers, particularly if the girls have got, this is for one certificate, whereas if she had 2 or 3 certificates, you can imagine that the list is quite long and makes the girls very, very employable if that's what they decide to do post-school. And university requirements. So there is a little bit of a difference in terms of entry for the 4 public universities, which are shown on the screen here. So girls will need a WACE for entry. So regardless of whether that you're an Access or an ATAR student, they will all receive that. They need competence in English, which really means a 50% score or better. An ATAR, if they're going to get direct entry. And sometimes courses will have specific courses that they require. So, for example, for engineering it might be methods, or for medicine it might be chemistry, for example. So you need a pass in those particular courses. And early offers was something that caught many schools by surprise last year, but is of great advantage to your girls coming through. You may be aware that Notre Dame has offered early offers for quite a long time, and we've had a really large number of girls, I think it was about 40 off the top of my head from last year, that got early offers. And the other universities have now realised that they need to also go on this journey, because lots of girls, or lots of students around the state, are committing to Notre Dame early. So now the other universities are all offering early offers. It does mean that the girls need to apply for those during Year 12, but it does mean that many of them will be offered places at university before they sit the WACE exams. So that's a great option for some students. And the other great part is that they're not committed to having to take up that place if they choose not to. So it gives them lots of opportunities and lots of options with making choices about university. But for some of the girls, that's great reassurance to be able to go into the exams knowing that I already have my place at Notre Dame or Murdoch or Curtin already lined up. It's not for every course though, so the girls just need to be aware of what is on offer. Notre Dame is a little bit different, so many of the same requirements. However, they do have to do a written application for this, and they have to do a personal statement. So we have Notre Dame come out, and they work with the girls around how to write this. We do a lot of proofreading, and certainly when you get to Year 12, Marsha will be very involved in that process, really to help your girls and support your girls, whether it be for university entrance or whether it be for scholarships or other things they might be interested in. In terms of academic feedback, we do encourage you to go on to Sector and to have a look at your daughter's results and to track those through the year. The girls will also give feedback on there for particular tasks, as will teachers, and there's some really valuable information there for you. It also gives a lot of the dates ahead as well, so that's really worth logging into, particularly now in these crucial times of Year 11 and 12. You will receive interim reports at the end of Term 1, and the interviews for Year 9 to 12s is on Tuesday the 2nd of June. So following, the reason for the timing of having it there is because the girls will have done their first lot of exams, and we really find that that's really good in terms of the feedback that we can give, and really having conversations with the girls about what to do from here, what went well and what to do differently. In terms of study tips, and I guess there's 4 steps that are really helpful to have conversations with your daughter about, because for some students, they do the notes really well, but that's all they do. And they just do notes notes and more notes. But if they can then decide, well, okay, I've done notes, what can I do with those notes? So that's where we refer to it as transfer. So notes to a paragraph, notes to a table, notes to a diagram, whatever it might be. Then we ask them to do questions. So that might be tests from the chapter, from exams, wherever it might be, and then the follow-up. And we really strongly encourage the girls to seek help from their teachers. We are really fortunate here that the teachers give a lot of extra help to the girls at recess, lunchtime. We have maths help before school on a Tuesday. So there's lots of ways they can access that. So I really encourage you to talk with your girls about what sorts of strategies do you use to transfer your information and see whether they can actually have that conversation with you. Study plans and being organised is really critical, and certainly Marsha will be doing a lot of work with the girls in PCT about study plans and what they look like. And the girls will tell you, I make a study plan and then I can't stick to it. So they have to be realistic, they have to put in all the things that they do outside of school, like sport, work, social things, and then try and really make it work for them. So it has to be very personalised. In terms of some of the key dates, they're on the screen there, and certainly when we send out this keynote, you'll be able to get those dates. Something that's really important for you to be aware of is that when the girls do their exams, which as you can see there, 29th to the 30th of October, it's really important that the girls don't think that that is the end of school for the year, because we do start year 12, and if you have a son at Aquinas, as I do, they did the same thing. They've got the same model as Santa Maria now too, where their year 12 start. So school doesn't finish for our year 11s until the 4th of December. So that gives us 5 full weeks to really make a good start on the year 12 coursework. At the end of the year, the girls find it a little bit challenging because they're a little weary. But when I meet with them at the beginning of the year, they're very pleased that they're 5 weeks in, and often, if they've got 5 subjects, they've done 5 assessments. So it really does mean that pressure from year 12 can be spread over a longer period of time. In terms of our assessment policy, it is on sector, and year 11 and 12 is a little bit different to the lower school years because students are required to complete the assessments. And part of that is because we have a requirement through SCASA to have an assessment schedule and particular weightings, and so students are required to be part of that. And so what we ask is that for parents to email the teacher if the student's going to be absent, and if your daughter is absent from an exam, it's really important that you contact us, but you also get a medical certificate. We also have a sickness and misadventure form in year 11. So if it was coming up to exams and your daughter had an event happened at home or was unwell for the week before exams or other things, then you complete that form and then we can look at adjusting results where we deem it necessary. But sometimes we don't know about those sorts of things, so it's really important that you communicate with us about that. And certainly, Marsha works very closely with students if they've been absent for more than 2 or 3 days. So we really encourage your girls to seek help, particularly in catching up if they've been unwell. And partnerships for success. So certainly your involvement and your support over the next 2 years is very much appreciated. And I've put discussion of social commitments up there because it's a really interesting one going forward, particularly because many of your girls will turn 18 in year 12. Many of them are also starting to get licenses. And in having some discussions at leadership, we've talked about the impact of this on our girls, and something that we really feel is that lots of 18th birthdays through that year 12 time period can actually have a serious impact on their learning. We're not going to be able to stop them by any means, but it's about having conversations because not only is it attending the event, but it's also buying an outfit and buying a present and all the other things that go with it. So we just really encourage parents to consider that and really to have good conversations with your daughter because we want them here at school on a Monday ready to learn and it's such a critical time for them. So it's a really difficult one for parents and for us as a school, but we work in partnerships to support you. So we think that they're going to have a fabulous year this year, and certainly we hope that we can support them in lots of different ways. Also too, there's a little note at the bottom there that we do have lots of guest speakers over Year 11 and 12, not only through the PCT time, but also through our Career Centre. So we encourage the girls to come along, just hear some different things, because some of these careers that they'll talk about, they may not even have heard of or be aware of. And it might just spark an interest or a new passion for the girls. So certainly encourage them to do that. And the last thing from me really is to, sorry, I'm going the wrong way here, is to say that there are lots of people here to support your girls this year. So Marsha particularly, but certainly Simone Sawiris, who looks after all the academic aspects of it. Marianne Hughes is also available to talk to parents and girls about career choices and pathways as well. She has a wealth of knowledge, so really encourage you to make use of her expertise. And certainly homeroom and subject teachers are also really important for this journey for your girls. So I wish your girls all the very best for Year 11. I hope that she's going to really thrive in Year 11. I think sometimes the girls get to this stage and now they've chosen their subjects, school's a little bit different. They're in control and they're in charge of their destiny. So have a wonderful year. Thank you for your support of your girls, but also of the staff and for the things that we do here at the college. And I'm very happy to take questions. Yes. Yes, so
We haven't got a final date.
So school will start on the Tuesday, and the 2nd or 3rd of February it will start. So it will be the Saturday just before that, or the Sunday. We're just waiting on confirmation. We've been very brave. We're moving out to Optus Stadium, which is going to be a fabulous venue, but we're working with them at the moment, so we can't give you the exact date just yet. Yes, it will definitely be that weekend. So we're just not sure whether it's Saturday or Sunday at this stage. So we think that new venue will be great for the girls, and we're just working with Optus to get that finalised at the moment.
In this way, I'm not sure if I understand what is a study period.
Oh, a study period. So a study period is where the girls work in the plaza. So our deans are located in that area as well. So Marsha's office is in that space as well. And then there's lots of open space there where the girls can work. They can also come upstairs to the library. And what we really recommend that the girls do is that they, in their planner, where they have a study period, they actually write down what they're going to do. That they don't just come to that period and think, well, what am I going to do? Maths. Oh, but my maths book's in my locker. And then they spend half the period going to find their maths book, and then they need their calculator. And so really to be very planned about what they're going to do. They can also go and sit in on another class. So if, for example, they were doing methods and there was another methods class on at that time, they can go and sit in and hear a second version of the class as well. Not many of the girls do that, but it's an option that's open to them if they wish to. Some of the girls will meet with their teachers during those times, depending on availability of the teacher, and a lot of them will work together in small groups as well. So this year we really want to have a focus on supporting each other to really reach their best. It should still come through. If you don't get a response, usually within a day or two, perhaps just ring the front office and just double check. Can I see who's using the app? Just a show of hands. Fantastic. Okay, that's great. Because we are using that more and more. Sorry, question? Yes, so for the exams, because the girls they do exams up until the Friday, and then our staff who have those exams on the Friday work very hard to get them done and marked. So the girls will actually receive their results online on the Tuesday. the Monday evening will probably be, because the parent-teacher interviews are on the Tuesday. We want the girls to have their results before they come to the meeting, but we want to be able to give them feedback about it as well. Well, thank you very much for coming along tonight. Marsha and I are here to answer any questions, so do feel free to have a coffee and a biscuit before you go. But otherwise, thank you very much for coming along, and I hope Year 11 is a really successful